my name is Jelana. I'm a dietetic intern here at the Extension office. So today we're going to cut up this whole chicken, and this is an important skill to have because you can save money by purchasing the whole chicken instead of buying each cut separately, because they do have that convenience factor where they charge more because they cut it up for you. You can also use the leftover bones to make a stock, which can be used to make chicken soup or other recipes. And if you get a whole chicken where it comes with the gizzards, then you can use those to make a gravy. So to start out, we will turn the chicken facing me. The tools that you'll need will be a cutting board. I have a chef's knife and also some kitchen shears that can make some of the steps easier. And for the food safety aspect, to prepare this, you will want to not wash your chicken. And I know a lot of people are concerned about maybe some of that bacteria on the chicken, but when you wash your chicken, you can spread the bacteria from the chicken all over your sink. It could get on your soap bottle and from behind your faucet and different areas of your kitchen through that splashing. And we might clean our sink and the soap bottle in that area, but we don't necessarily clean other areas, and so we might be spreading bacteria around. So to start out, we are going to take off the legs. So I'm going to cut through this skin here, just so I can see in there. You want to cut it kind of far down because we're going to first cut off chicken leg quarters. And then once you have that skin cut and you can see inside of there, you're going to try to find the joint and pop that out. And you want to make sure you're cutting the skin so you're not going to rip that once you get to the breast, because if you do want to leave the skin on the breast, you want that to be nice and intact. So I've got the joint out here, and then we're going to cut on the other side of that, the side closest to the breast, to get off the chicken leg quarter here. And you want to make sure you're not missing any meat, leaving any meat on the bones here. So you're going to cut as far back as you can with around the bone. And every chicken is different. So sometimes there might be more skin, and the next chicken there is not as much skin. So don't always feel like if there's a struggle that you aren't doing it right. It also doesn't have to be a perfectly cut piece. As long as you're trying to get as much meat off as you can, you'll be able to utilize the chicken in many different ways. So right there I have a chicken leg quarter, and then we're gonna do the same thing to the other side. So we have our other chicken leg quarter here. And then we're going to move on to the wings. So with the wing, you kind of want to turn the chicken on its side and pull the wing up here like this. And then you're going to try to find the joint, just kind of go around. Be a little bit difficult to find here. And you can maybe pop it out of the joint a little bit more if it's not wanting to come out. You can cut a little bit more. And then, so now we have a chicken wing. We'll do the same thing to the other side again. So we've got our other wing there, and now we're going to move on to the breast. So gonna make sure we're keeping our skin nice and straight here so it's not getting ripped a lot if we want to keep that on for when we bake it later. We're going to start on the tail end, and we'll use our kitchen shears here to cut through some of this excess skin and the rib bones, and this will help us remove the breast from the backbone. And you can definitely use a knife to do this, but scissors can be a little bit easier. You have a little bit more control than with the knife sometimes. A lot of bones, and there might be a little bit of meat, and there's a lot of skin in there, so there might be a lot of cutting to do. But just keep going, and then at a certain point you'll be able to kind of pull on it as well. And if you're having a hard time getting through some of the bones here, you might want to just switch from the scissors to your knife and get in there and really press down on it, and that can help you crack the bones and pull off this backbone a little bit easier. So So we can save our backbone to make some stock later on. So we'll set that aside. And then we'll turn our breast facing this way with kind of the wishbone facing farthest away from us. And then you can take your knife and try to find that little triangle in the middle and press down so that you can crack it, and it'll be easier to cut your breast in half. Okay. Then we'll turn it back over. Make sure our skin is straightened so that they can get even amounts of skin on each breast. And then we're going to try to find that middle piece here and just might have to break a little bit more. We'll just cut this in half. So got a little bit of sticking, so I'm going to move to my scissors, and that can help me cut this last little bit apart. So now we have two separate breasts here, and you can certainly take the bone off. You could either rip it off, you could cook it and then pull it away from the bone later. You can also, instead of cutting it in half, you could cut on the side of the breastbone and try to cut it off that way, but it can be difficult to get all of the meat that way. So by cutting off the backbone first and then cutting the breast in half, that can be a good way to make sure you get all of that meat. Then next, we can make sure that we utilize the chicken to its fullest potential by separating some of our pieces so that we have more portions to serve. So if we want to separate our chicken leg quarter so that we can get more pieces, we can flip it over and look for this fat line here. And so we're going to cut right there because that should be in between the joint. So now we have a chicken thigh. Oops, got a little bit of skin still connected. So now we have a chicken thigh and a chicken drumstick, and they're separated so that we could use them for different purposes. And this will be a great way to stretch your chicken to make it serve more people. And we can do that with both chicken leg quarters. So again, I'll find that fat line, and it can be kind of hard to find sometimes because the thigh is a very fatty portion. The thigh is a very fatty portion of the chicken, so there's a lot of fat lines here you see, but you want to kind of look where the leg ends, and we see that it would be this one instead of other ones over here. Okay, so now we again have a separated drumstick and a thigh. And so you can also separate your breast if you'd like and make them into half portions. So you could cut this in half about right here. Because we see that these chicken breasts are fairly large. So we definitely wouldn't want to eat all of that just as one person, but we can help create more of a family-sized portion by cutting them in half, and each person could have about a half of the breast. So that is one benefit of trying to cut it off of the breastbone first. You don't have to deal with all of those bones. They can be a little bit difficult to get the meat off of. So now we have two separated breasts, so this would be a more reasonable portion per person. So now I'm going to cut the next breast, and then so we'll have 4 separate pieces of breast. So now we have 10 pieces of chicken here, and so just from one chicken that may have cost about $15, we can utilize this in many different ways and serve a family for multiple meals. If we bought just one cut of chicken, we might not be able to utilize it in as many ways. We also wouldn't have this backbone to utilize for a stock, and that would be great in the winter time to utilize for gravies and other dishes that we like chicken noodle soup. And so with these 10 pieces of chicken, you could bake the breast, you can bake any of these pieces. You can also enjoy some grilled chicken drumsticks. The thigh is a fattier piece, so that's something to consider as well. If you're making like a crock pot meal, that might be a good addition. And then as you can see here, we have a mess here. Cutting up a whole chicken is a messy job, so I'll give you some food safety tips to help clean up your kitchen and make sure you're not spreading the bacteria around after you complete this test. So now that I've cut up all of my chicken, I will focus on cleaning up my mess, which includes sanitizing the workspace. So since we drained that package, all of that chicken juice into the sink, we'll want to sanitize that. So you can mix water and bleach together in a spray bottle like this that can easily be found at a dollar store, and that'll help you safely sanitize your sink. You can also utilize Clorox wipes and other sanitizing sprays that you may have at your house. And so I will clean up my cutting board, make sure you're rinsing everything off, and then you can clean up your counter with the sanitizing spray, Clorox wipes, or other sanitizing sprays that you own. And then after you wash all of your dirty dishes from this cutting of the chicken, you will sanitize your sink with the spray that you create. So one thing when you're cutting a chicken, you also want to make sure you have a sharp knife, because you may have heard that a dull knife is more dangerous than a sharp knife. And that's very true, because with a dull knife, you have to work harder to cut things, and it may be easier to slip off of maybe the vegetable or the chicken that you're cutting, and you could stab yourself more easily. Whereas with a sharp knife, it can cut very quickly, and you don't have to use as much pressure, so there's less risk of it sliding off and you hurting yourself with that. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned how to cut up a whole chicken, and you will utilize this skill in your life so that you can save some money and utilize chicken in many different ways.